whiskey. Record label turned me down to signing me words. Then I walked to the radio station. Said they can't put me in the rotation. We gotta play this break in the shake and shake code because we on payroll. Stay patient.
All right, folks, welcome to B&B's Football Happy Hour. We are back. We're bearded. We're beautiful as always. I'm Bobby with my man Brian.
What's going on? Glad to be back for another exciting week. Another great episode we got coming up here.
Oh, yes. And we're talking about one of my favorite things in the entire world, and that is the fantasy football draft. We're going to talk, go into little details about doing your draft, where you're doing it, how you're doing it, how you're coming up with your draft order, lots of fun stuff like that. We'll also hit on a couple listener questions that we got, and then we'll be joined by our guest, which we mentioned before. First will be Ray Lawry, a former Old Dominion running back, one of, if not the best running backs in ODU history, who's been around a few professional organizations in his time. And we'll also be joined by 2019 Maryland Sportswriter of the Year. So excited for that as well.
Yeah, another good show. Last week we had a great one as well with Mr. Calvin Williams. I listened back on that one. That was some good stuff. So glad we got him in while we could, because Big Ten's kind of been busy lately. So glad we got him in. It's perfect timing.
Yeah, boy, that call coming out today, Tuesday, with the cancellation of the Big Ten season. I'm sure he is, I don't know, in a weird spot right now. So you're right. I'm glad we got him in when we did.
Oh, yeah.
All right, man. As always, so I don't forget, beats are provided by Dunson. And let's roll, man. The fantasy draft is the biggest, the best, the most anticipated event of your entire fantasy season. I mean, I have won countless fantasy championships, and I'm telling you, I get far more excited for the draft than I do the championship game. My whole world, my son not included, my whole world revolves around my fantasy draft days. I got them circled on the calendar. I got the times ready. I'm traveling here. I'm traveling there. I can't wait, man. It is my absolute favorite time of year.
Yeah. I definitely like, the draft's the most exciting part. You don't know who's going to pick who. You don't know who your team is. So it's always fun and exciting to see which guys fall into your lap, or, which guys you take. It's fun to go back and forth with your buddies if you're doing a live draft. So, it's always different ways to do it. So,
yeah, that's like you said, live draft is one way to do it. The simplest way is to just hop on online, be it Yahoo or NFL or ESPN, and just do one of their drafts. Get your league together, hop on there. That's the quickest, easiest way to do it. For me, I do everything I can not to draft that way. That's the least personal way to do it, and I don't like it. The second way, which I'm sure a lot of, if not most drafts, are going to be done by Zoom. So you can have a Zoom meeting like me and you are doing, and sometimes you even have to incorporate that into your live drafts, which I know we've had to do with a couple members. There's a gentleman in my league of record who's in the military, so that guy has drafted from around the world via Zoom or Skype, Facebook video call, whatever. That's a way to do it. But you mentioned live drafts, and my man, that is the way to go. Being there, as many people as you can get in one room or one building, and just going after it, getting at each other, talking your trash, making your picks, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I've done more live drafts than not. I mean, obviously back in the day, I mean, you kind of do them just on Yahoo, like you said, or ESPN or whatever. But this year, I guess with Zoom and everything else, I don't know, maybe that might be a new one. That could be pretty interesting to have, because on Zoom you can have up to 20 people join or whatever. So yeah, that would be pretty fun maybe. I remember back in college, me and my buddies used to go to we used to rent out like Buffalo Wild Wings, and we would bring the draft board. It's like, I remember, I don't know, back whenever it was, like 2007 or 8 or not 2009, we used to go there and pay for that package or something like that. They'd give you like the draft board and like 2 pictures beer and
They still
something
do it?
else. Yeah. I remember we did that a couple of years. We used to do that, and then that got a little rowdy, so we would do it at somebody's house or something, or apartment. So
Yeah, and that's actually goes into the next thing I was going to talk about is, if you're doing your draft live, where do you do it? Do you do it like at a bar or restaurant, like you said? And I know Buffalo Wild Wings, I know Hooters, Permane Brothers, I believe, if there's one in your area, they have, at least they used to have, draft packages where you said like you give them a couple bucks per person and they get you, certain things, a draft board, maybe some specials on food, drinks, whatever. You could also do them at a brewery, like, around us and pretty much everywhere. Honestly, it's really opened up. Brewers are popping up all over the place. Winery, if that's your thing, hit a vineyard up. A conference room at work. I've done that before. Yeah. My buddy had worked in an office, had a big conference room. They had a mini fridge there, had, little kitchenette. It's perfect. We ever hop in there and do the drafting. If you really want to go big, you can do a destination. Personally, I don't know, but I've heard of people, they go all the way to Vegas or New Orleans or Atlantic City, find a place there to do their draft. That might be a little too big time for me. But I got to tell you, man, my legal record this year, I cannot wait. The weekend, August 28th, 29th, we're going to Ocean City, Maryland. We got one of our guys live there. He's at a big pontoon boat. And I think 8 or 9 of us of the 12 are going to be there and do the draft on the boat while we're out at sea, man. I cannot wait. We got one guy flying in from Dallas to do it. We got another guy flying in from Detroit, all gathering up to get this done at the beach on a boat. I'm pumped. I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be a good time.
Yep. And then the guys aren't going to be there. Obviously, we're going to have them, some type of Zoom or, whatever, some type of video chat.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm not sure the exact dates on a few of mine yet. It's still kind of up in the air, but I'm sure it'll be around that same time. I guess we're kind of waiting to see.
Yep.
Waiting to see what the NFL says. I think they're going to roll on schedule. So
I think so too.
Around that time.
Another fun thing is trying to figure out your draft order. You can make it simple. If whoever finishes last the year before, they pick first. Whoever won, they pick last, 10th or 12th or 14th, however many teams you got. Some people, I know one of my leagues, they just pull names out of a hat, and whenever your name gets called, that's the spot you have. My legal record, we take the bottom 8 teams, all the teams that missed the playoffs, put their names in the bag. When they pull their names out, they get to pick where they want to draft. You know what I'm saying? So if, your name gets picked, you don't automatically get the first spot. You get to pick because maybe you don't want the first spot. Maybe you want the 12th spot. Maybe you want the 6th spot, whatever. So that's how we do it there. But there are an infinite number of ways to get this done. A couple that I've heard of that I think are kind of fun is when you add competition to it. So you could do a football throwing contest. You could do a cornhole tournament. You could do golf. You could do some type of Olympics, competition to see. Video game tournament, Madden, an eating contest. I think the funniest one I heard of, one league they got, each person had a child and they had their children run a race, and they picked their draft spots by how their children finished the race. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, I think my one league I do with all my buddies, we usually switch it up. So yeah, sometimes it's random. Sometimes we do it like you said with some of the teams that missed the playoffs get to kind of pick towards the top or pick their spot. And then back in the day, we used to do like a beer Olympics. So we would do like a beer pong, flip cup. We would do like 5 different events, and whoever won all the events got so many points and whatever place you got. So we'd make a day out of it. We'd be outside all day kind of getting after it. And then whoever kind of came out with the most points, had the number 1 pick. So, that definitely added a little fuel to the fire when you're out there all day and drinking those adult beverages and getting after it with your friends. So yeah, that used to be
only if you're 21.
That used to be the highlight of the college fantasy season there. So that was always fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. Even recently, I've done some cornhole tournaments or whatever to pick fantasy. So yeah, there's whatever people are into, I guess.
Yep.
Figure it out.
Like I said, infinite number of ways to figure that out. All right, man. Hit us with our first listener question.
All right, we had a few this week. This one we got right here. is which rookie quarterback has the best chance of providing 2020 fantasy football value? Thought that was a
All right.
pretty interesting one, but
Yep.
So go ahead. What do you got?
All right. So, I mean, who are we talking about here? Joe Burrow to Justin Herbert? That's basically it, right? Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
They're the ones that have the biggest chance of starting. And I think the obvious answer is Joe Burrow. He's most likely going to be the only one of these guys that's under center week 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to – so obviously has more opportunities than the rest to score those points for you. And he's also, in my opinion, and very surprisingly, given how bad the Bengals were last year, he's got the most weapons, I think, of any other rookie QB. He's got a very talented running back duo in Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard. Gio, granted, he's not running the ball over the field, but he's very helpful on third downs. He's a great pass catching back. He can be dumped down to if Joe Burrow needs that little safety net. And his wide receivers, man, I mean, he's got A.J. Green out there. He's got Tyler Boyd. He's got fellow rookie T. Higgins. Obviously, John Ross is there too, but he's basically Mr. Glass in real life. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the Bengals also get their starting left tackle, Jonah Williams, back, who missed all of last season, his rookie year, due to injury. So, I mean, Burrow, I think is an obvious pick. Mm-hmm. Now, once Tua gets in there, Herbert gets in there, might be raised. But, I mean, no matter what, you're not taking Burrow as your starting QB.
No.
Any one of these guys, if you're in a 2 QB league, maybe, but still, I mean, we're fantasy-wise, he's down there in close to 30. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe in a 2 quarterback league, you might I don't know. You might have him as a backup. Play him 1 week, maybe. I don't know, but
he's my QB 3 in a 2 quarterback league. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think by default it's Joe Burrow, but I'm not really. I mean, look, he had a great year last year at LSU, but
greatest ever in college.
Still a 1-year wonder. I don't know. We'll see how he does in the NFL.
Right. I got a surprise pick for. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's got some weapons, like you said, but. NFL is always different. Those guys always struggle, and I don't know if he's going to come in there and light the world on fire, especially in that division. I mean, the Steelers' defense will be pretty good. The Ravens' defense is good. I mean, the Browns are pretty good on offense, so that might be a shootout. But, yeah, I mean, by default, I think he might give you a little value, but, I mean, I'm not starting him every week. I mean, maybe 1 week if they're playing a terrible team and he's been hot, I might throw him in there, but I don't know. I mean, that's a big if. That's like – if my starting quarterback gets hurt and my backup's on a bye.
That's right. That's right.
But, yeah, I mean, he might get you some fantasy points, I guess.
I got a surprise pick for you, man.
Right,
and this one might hit you hard. But if the off-injured Carson Wentz, if he goes down yet again, watch out for Jalen Hurts, man. Doug Peterson, he's smart enough and creative enough to accentuate the talents of Jalen Hurts. And, I mean, honestly, Hurts is really good. Last year he had like a 70% completion percentage in senior year in college with 32 touchdown passes. Now, stay with me here. 32 touchdown passes, only 8 interceptions. He rushed for 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns. I repeat, 20 rushing touchdowns as a QB. He even caught 2 passes and had a receiving score.
Yeah.
That's 54 total touchdowns just last year alone. One of the keys to winning the NFL is having a quarterback on a rookie contract, someone who is cheap. Wentz is no longer cheap. If Wentz struggles or gets hurt again, don't be surprised to see Philly start leaning on Hurts more and more. And if he's not careful, Carson's tenure in the city of brotherly love might not be as long as people think.
Yeah, I mean, if Hurts was on any other team, I probably would have picked him here because – he's got the run-pass option. So, I mean, Burrow he doesn't really run like that. I mean, Tua's not going to run around. Yeah, I mean, if Hurts was on, I don't know. If he was going to go in there and start day one, like if he was on the Bengals somehow and like they picked him in the second round, I mean, I probably would have went Hurts here because, I mean, yeah, he does have those skills. And, I mean, I don't want to wish injury on Wentz, but, yeah, like you said, he does get hurt a lot, but
every year but one. He's missed games every year but one.
Yeah, but when you look at it, he's only missed like 7 games, so it's always at the end of the year. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Hurts is good. I didn't like the pick. I mean, I don't.
Obviously.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know. I don't think wouldn't rather have Hurts than Carson Wentz as your franchise quarterback. So.
No, yeah, but
we'll see.
Wentz
They'll
expensive
use
and
them.
hurt all the time.
Yeah, I mean they'll use them for sure, but I don't know how much value he'll give this year. Maybe next year. I don't know. I mean,
We'll see.
Barring an injury, I guess. So.
All right, man. Our next fantasy question is pretty simple. It's a simple question, but I think it's kind of a complicated answer. Is Dalvin Cook worth a top 5 pick? What a great question. What do you think?
That's a tough one. My answer.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly the first words in my notes when I was doing the show were, man, that's a tough one.
It's a tough question. I mean, he is good, but like you said, I mean, the guy is really he gets hurt a lot too. So, I mean, in my mind, I'm probably not picking him in the top 5. I mean, I don't know. I'll pick him. I mean, I'd pick him in the first round, but not – I don't know if I'd go top 5 for Cook.
Is he talented enough? Yes.
Yeah.
Does he produce enough? Yes. He was a 6th highest scoring running back last year, but he was 2nd in points per game behind only C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He had over 1,100 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, and added another 53 catches for over 500 receiving yards. The problem is, like you mentioned, just like, our guy Wentz we were talking about, he only played 14 games last year, and he's only played 29 of a possible 48 games. I mean, he's basically missed 20 games in the short time, the 3 seasons he's been in the league.
Yeah, so that's a season plus.
Right.
Plus,
now, one positive, he's on one of the most run-heavy offenses in the league. And he was 6th in the league in red zone touches, and more importantly, 3rd in the league in goal line carries. He has everything going for him, but he just can't stay healthy, man.
Yeah, so I mean, he does produce on the field, but that's just such such a risk to me, because it's almost like if you're going to take him in the top 5, like you said, I mean, the Vikings run the ball a ton, so you're looking at your first pick right there being a complete risk. And then in my eyes, it's almost like he gets hurt so much, you probably have to take Alexander Madison too at some point just to hedge that bet right there. So
yeah, take him early.
Yeah, so you're telling me like I got to take – you're already like giving me 2 players on my team. Like if I'm taking Dalvin Cook, like you should probably take Madison too just to hedge that bet. I mean, if you're going to bet on Cook, you're going to have to take Madison just as a backup and kind of stash him away. And then if Cook gets hurt, I mean, you got your guy not as talented, but who, he'll get as many carries, and I mean, he'll be a serviceable player in fantasy. But
that's the thing. Cook, yep. Cook is 100%. You got to take his handcuff. You don't have a choice. And you got to take him early to make sure somebody else doesn't get him. So because if Cook goes down, Madison's going to have a big role. But by taking Cook, in the first 5 picks, it's basically taking 2 players because you have to have Madison. Yeah. And for me, look, if you want to take him in his top 5 picks, I get it because he's talented enough and he performs well enough to be there. It's just not for me. We talked about this, I think, last week when we talked about Derrick Henry. Yeah. I'm not taking him early because we talked 4 guys who get 400 touches. They don't bounce back. It's a risk. I'm not taking a risky pick in the first round unless I absolutely have to. I want that first round, second round. I want those picks to be as safe as possible. And Cook is the opposite of a safe pick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I'm in a 12-team league and he falls, if I'm picking like 10 or 11 and he's there, people are passing him up, I might, because I got that pick coming back in like 3 picks.
Yep.
Even then, I'd probably try to just, if he fell that far, I'd probably just kind of wait anyway. You know what I'm saying? Since I try to get him on the comeback, I guess, because he's not really somebody.
So you're definitely not getting Cook this year for sure.
If I'm picking like 11 and we got like a snake draft going on, I mean, my second pick's going to be coming up in another 2 or 3 picks right there. So at that point, I'd probably still pass on him and take like a receiver. And then if he was there, maybe at like 14,
no, you're not. Listen, you're not taking Cook. You just let us know. No matter what, you're not taking Cook.
only if he completely falls to me, like, I don't know, super late, I'd take him. But yeah, I just don't want to fill. I mean, your fantasy roster isn't. I mean, you don't get 20 guys. So I mean, if you're like you said, if you're gonna tell me I got to take Cook, and then your next kind of target is Madison, you're already taking two of your players on, like, you only get to pick like 12 or 13 guys. So like,
right.
You're taking like
great question.
Yeah, good stuff.
Great question though. Yep.
But yeah, so I don't know. That's tough, but good stuff. Keep them coming. I guess we had these two this week. We had what did we do? One or two last week. So, yeah, we've been getting a few in every week. So just keep those questions rolling.
Yeah.
I know some more people will probably have some more questions once they actually draft their team, but these are kind of like some pre-draft questions. So
keep them coming. Absolutely, love to answer them.
Keep them coming and let us pick the best couple each week. And
I don't know if you noticed, man, but I know we're finishing up here, but I'm going with the all natural hair tonight, man.
There you go.
I got a shower. We just threw it back. What do you think, man? How's it looking?
It's all right. Not bad. I like it. Might as well just let it go now. I don't know. You have to go back.
Dude, I'm way past the point of cut.
Soon, yeah.
I was there today, man. First day back.
Yeah. I don't know. Ask your students. Maybe they'll have a poll. You can they can vote on it for you.
No, I'll have to cut it then. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
All right, man. We ready? We got our first guest ready?
Let's take a look. Yeah, I think we have our first guy here waiting to go. So let's get ready to bring him on here real quick. All right, we're joined by our first guest of the night here, Mr. Ray Lawry, former stud running back from Old Dominion. I'm gonna throw out a few. I posted the highlight video. I'm gonna throw out a few little accolades here. So
there are a lot of them.
Yeah, I got a few, man. I could probably go on for about a half hour with some of the stuff I found. But let's see, former Conference USA Freshman of the Year at Old Dominion, which he led all freshmen in the country, 7.1 yards per carry, 2016 Bahama Bowls offensive MVP and a win over Eastern Michigan. Finished his career as the all-time leading rusher in Virginia FBS football history with over 4,000 yards. Holds ODU school record career rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. Tied for third in Conference USA history, 45 rushing touchdowns. The list goes on. That's all I had, man. So, Ray, glad you're with us, man. Tell everybody where you're at, and if I left off a few, you can add a few if you want to.
I think you hit them all right on, but right now I'm currently in Arlington, Virginia, here with my girlfriend. It's a great area. It's only about 2.5 hours back from where I'm from in New Jersey, so still close to home, but not too close still.
Yeah, still doing your thing. That's good, man. So we've had a few guys on, and we get a lot of feedback, man. Everybody loves to hear sort of everybody's journey. And now you're a guy who I've been following for a while. I mean, we went to the same high school, albeit I went a few years before you did.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, give us the journey, man, from growing up as a young kid and, in South Jersey to Old Dominion, and then to touch on some of the time you spent in the NFL and some of the other leagues you played in.
Yeah, I started from Logan Township, New Jersey. Started playing football when I was about 5 years old for the Logan Lions. Played with them all the way up to my 8th grade year. Then I was too fat to play in that league because that league went by weight. So I had to go to play for Kingsway because it went by age. So I went there for my 8th grade year and then ended up going to Kingsway for my high school career. Had a good career there. Lost state championship once. In my senior year, we lost the game before the state championship. So never was able to win a championship there. So then I committed to Old Dominion. My final choices were ODU, Temple, and Western Michigan. And I did Temple was a front runner for me at first. I was going to go there, but I wanted to have a new scenery change. Go a couple more hours away from home. So, but not too far where I was in Western Michigan, where it's cold as hell at. So I stayed at Old Dominion. Committed there, had a great experience there. Great. It was fun. A couple of my buddies from playing high school football also committed there. Marquise Little from Williamstown, Isaiah Worthy from West Deptford, and then Justice Davila from Timber Creek. We were all in the same year. play against each other since we were 8 years old in basketball, track, and football. So we all committed to ODU. So that was good to have familiar faces when I got up there. So went there, had a good career there. You know, we like you said, we won the Bahamas Bowl. That was my first football championship ever. So that was a great experience, you know, being in the Bahamas, staying at Atlantis for a whole week. We were going on rides and stuff during the week. I don't know how we were playing.
Nice.
We were drinking during the week. I don't know how we were playing a football game at the end of the week. But you know, that was a good experience. And then after college, I signed with Cincinnati Bengals draft day as an undrafted free agent. Then went through camp with them. Then got released and picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs. So I was there for a little bit. And then after that, I was released, and then I went to CFL. Was there for summer and a little bit in the beginning of the season, and then got released from there because I had an injury there. So after that, you know, I was home for a couple months, and all of a sudden the XFL comes. So that came around, and then obviously we all know what happened with that, with the whole COVID-19, you know, that stopped that league. So that was a bummer, but, you know, good news is it's being bought back now by The Rock.
Yeah.
That just came out last week. So now I'm just going to go from there. And I've just been training, you know, staying ready. I started private running back session business, all first down performance, just personal training, positional drills, all that stuff. So just doing that, stay ready, you know, keep my foot in it, and hopefully once this whole pandemic goes over, I don't know if that's gonna be anytime soon, but hopefully it does happen soon. We'll figure out what's going on next.
Awesome. Yeah, man. So for me, Brian touched on a couple of these things, these stats I'm gonna throw at you. But so as a freshman, you rushed for just shy of 1,000 yards and 16, good grief, touchdowns. You had the 9th most yards of any freshman in the country, and like Brian said, you had the most yards per carry of any freshman in the country, with 7.1, and that's with 134 carries. So it's not a small sample size. That tells me, man, that you were not getting a rock enough. They need to feed you that ball. You rushed for 213 yards against FAU and 4 touchdowns against Western Kentucky. And that's, again, as a freshman. So a little background on me is that I was a coach's worst nightmare. And I can say that because I myself have been a head coach of several different sports. And I was gifted athletically. My testing numbers were off the charts. And I had the drive to be the best, but only until I reached a certain point, at least in my own mind. When I felt I was the best on my team or whatever, that was it. That was when the hard work stopped for me. I was satisfied by being the top dog on a small scale. I never, personally, back in the day, I never saw the big picture. I never thought about playing at the next level or continue my football career after college at all. I became very complacent, and I think that is the key word right there, complacent. And I think a lot of young athletes get that way when they're short-sighted like I was. So you, on the other hand, you improved every season you were in college, and you posted ridiculous video game numbers throughout your entire career. So how did you dig deep, even when you were the top dog? Where or how did you find that extra drive to not only be the best running back, you know, on your team or in a conference, but one of the best running backs in the entire country?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, like you say, you can never be complacent, but, you know, luckily for me, you know, we had a lot of other dogs at other positions on my team. You know, every year you can just look around, everyone was just elevating the game, you know, every year. And, you know, when you're in college, you know, every year the coaches are recruiting the next best thing. So my freshman year, the year after me, they brought in Jeremy Cox, who's another big running back right now. Now he's currently on the practice squad with the Broncos. So they brought him in. So he was, you know, 6'1", 230 pounds, and fast, almost as fast as me. I'm not gonna say he's faster than me, but almost as fast as me, but just huge. So like, honestly, me and him, we push each other every day because like no one wants to get their spot taken by someone coming in. So, you know, he pushed me every day, you know, to be better every day. And not just him, but, you know, I had the coaches that used to push me all the time, you know, and my team in general. You know, we just always held each other accountable. You know, whenever we see someone who's slacking, it was open room. You know, everyone will call you right out, you know, in front of everyone. You know, so you never want to have that happen. So, you know, like I said, just every year, everyone just had to elevate their game, and just rubbed off on everyone.
Nice. Now,
Good.
you're not too far removed from college here, and I know you touched on it a little bit earlier. I mean, we're just going through some crazy times right now. Just today, the Big Ten's canceling the season. The Pac-12, they're canceling the season, and some of these other conferences are kind of in limbo. And
Yeah.
I mean, just give me your thoughts on college football landscape right now and all this stuff going on. And like if this happened a couple years ago when you're a senior, I mean, what would your thoughts be? Going through this time right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard. Just what sucks for like this to happen to the seniors. They work their whole career for their senior year. Some guys, they really need this year.
Mm-hmm.
Me especially, I know maybe back in college, I don't know how I would have been able to got through this. Not be able to play my senior year. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation. Obviously I want to play because everyone wants to play, but you still want to be safe. But I mean, honestly, if they were to say like we're going out there playing, I'm out there playing. I don't want to sit out my whole senior year, but understand it's a bigger picture, and if people that are in charge are making the rule to not play, then maybe it's for the best. But that definitely would suck to not be able to have a senior year, because that's just the best experience. Being out your senior year after you've been out there battling all 4 years, finally leave your legacy out there. It's hard.
How do you feel about being a politician? Because that was a heck of an answer you just gave us.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just truth. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's just tough with, now look, teams like, Conference USA and, we're close to ECU, so they got the AAC. I mean, these schools, they need to play. Like the businesses around the town, I mean, they need that.
Yeah.
Just financially. And like you said, I mean, not every guy in the world is a first-round draft pick. I mean, those seniors and those guys need that tape. And
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, me and Bobby talked. I mean, Joe Burrow, like, if this happened last year, I mean, he wouldn't be the number one pick. So it's like, I feel bad for those guys. Like, the guy that could have been the next Joe Burrow. Like if you're not going to play this year, it's just, it kind of just takes away from, all those kids getting that opportunity. I mean, hopefully they'll get another chance, but I don't know. It's just it's a tough time.
And I don't know how it'll work, because I see some leagues are thinking about doing it in January. That's too close to me. I mean, for me, I think that's way too close to the whole draft.
They're going to have to change everything. The combine's going to be out, or they're going to have to do it in May or June, and then when's the draft happen? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Because you can't have a football season in January and they expect guys do combine training, and go to OTAs and stuff.
You start in January, you sprain an ankle in week 9, you're out. Like you miss everything, the draft process, everything.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine if you're a junior, and what I'm saying, you're going to say your junior year is postponed until January, so you're going to play January to whatever, a couple months. And then what do you get 2 months off, and then you're just a senior and you're going to play 24 football games in like 7 months. I mean,
it's not going to happen.
What if you tear your ACL? You tear your ACL, you're done.
You're done for like 2 years.
Junior, yeah. It's crazy.
It's tough.
All right, Ray, so I have a 2-part question, and I think I know the quick, easy answer for the first part. And the first part of my question is, are you still pursuing your NFL dream?
I am. I definitely am pursuing my dream. I still believe I can play, playing in the NFL, and I still think I'm at the highest level of my game. I've been, grinding, training every day. It's all about just opportunity. So hopefully, I still got my agents working for me. Hopefully XFL comes back, get in there, get some film, and then that's the next step.
And so go into elaborate a little bit more with what exactly are you doing to continue that pursuit?
Yeah.
Like your workouts, all that stuff, diet.
So diet, going to the gym, and hitting the field, now that I'm training, I'm on the field every single day. I don't know if you see some of the videos, but when I'm training my guys, I'm out there training with them too. Like I'm right there, got a game this weekend as well. So, I'm just, staying fresh, taking care of my body, just staying ready for real.
Awesome. Good, man. We're all pulling for you. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. I think that's all I got. So let's we usually do a little rapid fire round here.
Hold on. Hold on.
One more.
I got a fun question for him.
Okay. Go.
So this is I'm a foodie, man. I talk about football on the show, and I always find a way to talk about food, some way, shape, or form. So you've been to a lot of different cities, even countries with the CFL.
Yep.
If you got to pick, which one city has the best food?
Honestly, I gotta say here in DC, there's all types of food. There's all different types of cultures, food. Some stuff I never had before. I know I had it here. Things I never even heard of.
I didn't see that coming, man.
No,
I didn't see DC coming.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a surprising answer.
No, because I'm
right.
here. Because I'm trying all different types of restaurants. So I'm down here. So it's
every nationality in the world. You got something there. I had two of my good buddies, man. They lived in Arlington for a few years, so I've been around there quite a bit, man. It's an awesome place to live.
Yep.
All right, Brian.
All right.
Let's get him on this rifle round.
All right. So these are just some quick, easy, little fun questions here. You can kind of just give us a one-word answer or a quick answer. So I'll start first. Give us the best team you ever faced in college.
NC State my sophomore year. So that year they had that crazy defense. Their whole all their defensive linemen went top 3 rounds. They had Bradley Chubb there.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely the hardest game I've ever played.
All right, Patty Mahomes or Lamar Jackson?
Pat Mahomes.
Correct.
All right, man. Best running back all time.
Barry Sanders.
All right. Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley?
McCaffrey.
Also correct.
Give me your favorite college stadium you ever played in.
Virginia Tech, but I actually didn't play in it because I was hurt that game, so that was the worst time ever. And I was on the sideline, and they did the NFC, all that stuff. So, it was painful sideline that game. But me personally, the biggest, I would say NC State again. My freshman year when we played it there, that was a big game. They had the blackout. It was their first game of the season, so it was packed.
Michael Thomas or Julio Jones?
Julio.
You're 3 for 3, my friend. You're doing great.
You a pancake or waffles kind of guy?
Waffles.
Ooh.
God, yes. Man, this guy's hitting them all. Joe Montana or Tom Brady?
Tom Brady.
Okay.
Favorite hobby besides football?
Basketball.
Last one for me. Jordan or LeBron?
LeBron.
He's a young guy.
Not a question either.
You're 4 for 5. Good job.
That's not too bad. Ray's still a young guy. You don't really
I know.
remember.
That's why I had to ask him. Every other guy we've had said Jordan, but you're the youngest one we've had on here so far.
Those guys are a lot older than him. Right,
nice, man. Pleasure having you. Thanks you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Thanks, Ray. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll post your training facility on our site and everything.
Yeah, man.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate y'all.
All right, man. Thank you.
Sir. All right, folks. Our next guest, Pat Stoetzer. He is the 2019 Maryland Sportswriter of the Year, and in a lesser known fact and much less important, he is a Chicago Bears fan. But obviously, given his career, he is deep in the sports world, and so he's going to come on here. He's going to talk a little bit about himself, and we're gonna fire some questions at him about those Chicago Bears. So, Pat, tell us where you're at, where you're from, and why are you a Bears fan?
All right, so Maryland born and raised, Westminster right now, Baltimore born. But when I was a kid, I was just old enough to understand football, and the Colts moved out of Baltimore, for everybody that already knows that. So I was sort of in limbo there as a young guy trying to pick a football team. And my dad said, pick wherever you want, just don't pick Washington, because he was a big Colts, he was a big Colts fan at the time. So I had some older cousins who said, you gotta watch this guy, man. He's getting older in his career, but this guy, Walter Payton, you got to watch him play. So I would watch him play with them, and just it connected to me from there. So I held this up. This is what I held on to, since it's the one and only time they won a Super Bowl is many moons ago. But yeah, die hard is maybe too strong a word, but I certainly live and die and drink my sorrows away with the Bears. Many a fall and winter. So, yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I've seen quite a few pictures of you posted on social media, and you are almost always decked out in Bears gear. So I think die hard is a good term to use for you.
All right, fair enough.
All right. So, Pat, when I think of the Bears, I think of, as you mentioned, Walter Payton, I think of running the football. I think of pushing piles, ground and pound. Unfortunately, last year there was a lot of ground, but there wasn't a whole lot of pound, my friend.
Yeah.
We've talked on the show before about Tariq Cohen having a very down year, but your lead back, David Montgomery, he wasn't turning any heads either.
Yeah.
Montgomery excelled in college, but his jump to the pros, it's left a lot to be desired. Neither back averaged 4 yards a carry, only 3.7 for Montgomery, and it was worse for Cohen. So as a team, you were obviously near the bottom of the pack in that category. From a fantasy standpoint, I picked on our show Tariq Cohen as one of my sleeper picks. And one positive for Montgomery owners in fantasy is that he had the 8th most goal line carries last year of any running back. So what needs to happen to get the Bears running game back to prominence?
That's a tall order, just I think based on the guys that they have. You mentioned ground and pound, and they don't have guys that can pound the ball. It's not the offense they run. It's not the offense that Matt Nagy runs. They'll go to the ground, but he likes to get guys out of the backfield and get them more involved. You mentioned Cohen, and that's why I would agree with you that he's probably the pick fantasy wise over a guy like David Montgomery. David Montgomery, though, he might be. It could be poised for a better season this year. You mentioned the yards per carry, that's certainly down, but they also split time with a guy like Tariq Cohen but of course Cohen's going to be more dangerous out of the backfield, I think, right now in his career anyway than a guy like David Montgomery. I wish they would go to the ground more. I do like you mentioned. I grew up with those sorts of teams and came to like even post Peyton. I mean, they still like to run the ball even in the 90s and 2000s and stuff too. It's not really Nagy style, but then again, it may not be too many team styles these days with what we saw last year, Kansas City, the Ravens. Just although the Ravens led the league in rushing, of course, but they had 4 different guys that could kill you with the ball. So I don't know if the Bears have that, but they certainly have a couple guys anyway that I like to see, on the incline. And I agree with you, Bobby. I think if you're going to pick one, I think you go with Tariq Cohen.
Nice. So touch a little bit about the guys who run it now. I love talking about some quarterbacks. So you guys have your boy Mitch Trubisky. You guys picked him with the 2nd pick, and I can't say that he's lived up to the 2nd pick, but he had a tough year last year. Look, he only had 17 touchdowns. He had 10 picks, 5 fumbles. So you're looking at almost as many turnovers as touchdowns there. Offense only averaged 17 points a game, kind of towards the bottom of the league there. But you guys signed or traded for a guy that's dear to my heart, Mr. Nick Foles. So give me your thoughts on the old quarterback competition there on the Bears. And who do you see starting more games this year, Trubisky or Foles?
That's a tough question. You'd like to think the number 2 pick in the draft gets more starts than a guy who's mostly been a backup, but Nick Foles does have a Super Bowl championship to his name, and Mitch Trubisky's 0-1 in the playoffs. Trubisky's the starter, but the way the current situation they have right now, if Foles started week 2 or 3, I wouldn't be too surprised. It's a little bit of a shame just because the Bears did what they did to get up to that. They traded up to that, get that number 2 pick. And then, of course, we all know they passed on Deshaun Watson. They passed on Patrick Mahomes. They passed on a couple other guys. Is that Mitch's fault that he was the number 2 pick? No, no, it's not. But should he be better than he is at this stage of his career? And based on where they picked him and how they thought he was going to pan out, yeah, of course. I like the way he runs it a little bit now and then. And Brian, you mentioned he didn't have a good year last year. The year before that, he was a Pro Bowler. Now, I know a lot of that had to do with the defense, the record 12-4. The defense obviously was what it was, but he had a pretty decent season. He surprised me. I didn't think he was going to be that good. And if I remember correctly, there were some highlight games of him running all over guys on third down, sort of like we saw Lamar Jackson do this year. Not comparing the two, of course, but he would get the defense, on their heels and pick up those first downs. He ran for like 60 or 70 yards against the Patriots in one of those games that year. It was a loss, but I went to the Ravens game. They played in Baltimore that year, and he didn't look great, but I walked away from that game thinking, okay, maybe he's not as bad as I put on him that he was going to be. But to get back to your question, I mean, and Bobby, I think you and I talked about this a couple of days ago. Just in the division, they have the worst quarterbacks in the division. I mean, Green Bay, we know what they have. Minnesota's got Cousins, and I think you mentioned, Detroit has Stafford, who is a great fantasy quarterback almost every year. So fantasy-wise, if you're trying to go for a quarterback there, I mean, Trubisky's your starter, but geez, I mean, draft Foles for the bye week or whatever it might be, and you might see him. Hey, he can catch the ball. He might be maybe dialing up Philly for him or something. The Chicago version of it. But yeah, I mean, you do have Foles there in the back. I mean, he is a veteran and he has won playoff games. I think he beat the Bears 2 years ago in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So Trubisky's a starter, but I wouldn't look too far over my shoulder.
I don't know if you noticed, but the Philly special is our logo for the show.
I did not, but thanks for reminding me. I appreciate it. Actually, that was cool. I didn't care about that. That was against the Patriots.
No, but I think you're absolutely right. And I think the only way – I personally believe come week one, Nick Foles might actually be the starter. The shortened training camp with no preseason really hurts him in that respect.
That's a good point.
If Trubisky is going to be the starter week one, I think he's really got to start using his legs more because he is much, much more dangerous when he does it. Like you said, when he actually used his legs, he was a Pro Bowler that year. Yeah,
and if you remember last year, Nagy didn't play him in the preseason, and he got some guff for that. Trubisky, I think, missed some time last year for an injury. But yeah, I mean, not playing those guys in the preseason may have hurt him last year, and now they're not going to have any preseason games. So you got to bring up a good point.
Yeah, I mean, the more I looked into it, I mean, my pick is going to be Foles. I think Foles is the guy. I mean, number one, they declined Trubisky's fifth-year option there. Right, so, I mean, I don't think they have a whole lot of confidence there. And then when I'm looking at the Bears coaches, I mean, Foles is a guy, he's been a backup on the Chiefs where Matt Nagy was offensive coordinator. Yeah, so it's
true.
And then he was with the Eagles when they had Bill Lazor and John DeFilippo, who are both on your coaching staff as the OC and quarterbacks coach. So I just think it's set up for Foles to be the guy. And, Trubisky might get a game or two, and then that leash is going to be pretty tight. And I think it's Foles to go from there. So
the leash might be dead. That's probably a better way of saying it. I think that Trubisky's your starter, but Foles is, if he's not warming up in the first game, he's getting close. Yeah.
So obviously, if you're a Bears fan, you understand how good your defense is. But I think for probably the rest of, or at least most of the NFL fans out there, quietly, your defense had a pretty darn good year. They were 4th in points given up, 8th in yards, 9th in passing yards, and rushing yards, and only 4th in passing touchdowns. Not many sacks, but you were 4th in hurry percentage, and you only blitzed at the 7th lowest rate in the league. So you barely blitzed, but you were 4th best in hurry percentage. So you were getting to the quarterback. You were making them uncomfortable without having to use blitzes, which is a big deal for a defense. This offseason, you signed Daniel Trevathan and Robert Quinn, big one, among others, and you drafted Jalen Johnson, big-time cornerback. And no matter how you feel about the offense, you have to feel good about the defense this coming year. So how do you think they'll perform after being a top 10 defense last year? Do they repeat?
I hope, because I think that's going to keep them in games. I mean, it kept them in the games last year, and you're talking about a team that went 8-8. I think I looked it up, and they had like 4 or 5 games where they lost by 1 score or thereabouts. So they're in a lot of those games, and that's the job of the offense to do better. So, yes, to answer your question, I hope so. I think they're built that way. They're still young on defense. Fuller and Jackson, and you mentioned John, and of course, I mean, it all revolves around Khalil Mack. I mean, Khalil Mack is he's a beast, but he's my devil in disguise. I loved it when they traded for him, and then I hated it, and then I loved it when I saw him play, and now I hate it again. Just because they're next year they're finally going to get out of that draft pick saddle they gave the Raiders. But still, I mean, Khalil Mack's a beast. I mean, you mentioned the fact they didn't blitz that much, and you got a guy who was triple teamed most of the time, and they still did what they did up front. and now they're adding Robert Quinn to that mix. So I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I'm excited to see that. I love Eddie Jackson back there. I think if you want to go back, not that I dwell on this game, the double doink game, but if you go back to that game, I guess I should say before that game, Eddie Jackson got hurt late in the win in the regular season and didn't play in that game against the Eagles. Now, would have it been different? Who knows? But you missed a guy like that in the defense. If you guys remember, and you probably do, the Bears couldn't get off the field on third. It was 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, and Foles just boom, boom, first down on the eventual game-winning touchdown. So last year they were pretty healthy, and I think I looked it up and saw that Jackson has led the NFL in defensive touchdowns the last 3 seasons, and no one else has more than he does. It's pretty impressive for a guy that most people don't know who he is. So he's back there. Fuller's back there. The guys up front, and Trevathan and Mack in the middle. It is a good defense. I hope they blitz more, but I think that with Chuck Pagano, the changing of the guard from Vic Fangio to Chuck Pagano, that might have been a little bit to do with it. So with another year under Pagano's belt, I hope that and I think that they'll have better numbers even than they did last year.
With Quinn, you might not have to blitz at all.
Right.
I mean, you're definitely not going to be able to double and triple team Khalil Mack, and if you do, Quinn's going to end up with 20 sacks. If you double team him, Khalil Mack's going to end up with 20 sacks. And if you don't double team either one of them, you're going to have 35 sacks between them both.
Yeah, and you got guys, running gaps there like Trevathan, Robertson, Harris, another good run stuffer. They got guys that can fill the void because they know that opposing offenses are going to focus on Mack, and now, like you said, they're going to have to focus on Quinn too.
Good stuff. All right, so let's talk about a unit here that we don't really touch on a whole lot here on this show. Let's go a little bit of offensive line talk here. So I was looking into it. You guys gave up. I mean, you guys had a lot of injuries, I think, last year at offensive line. Big thing stuck out to me is Pro Bowl right guard Kyle Long just kind of up and retires.
Yeah.
That has to hurt pretty much. That's pretty tough. He's a young guy, and he just kind of, walks away. They gave up 45 sacks last year, so you're looking at almost three a game. And I know Bobby touched on the draft a little bit there. You guys waited until the 7th round just to pick a few offensive tackles. So, I mean, in your mind, did they do enough to improve this offensive line to keep those quarterbacks upright, or, is it going to be the same type of deal next year?
Probably not. They probably didn't do enough to keep them upright. It's going to go back on the 2 quarterbacks to work their way out of some jams like that. I like some of the guys they have up front. I like Bobby Massey at times. I like Cody Whitehair. I do like his name's the guy they signed from Seattle. His name's escaped me, but they signed him as a free agent offensive lineman. Ifedi, Jermaine Ifedi. Yeah, big guy, but a guy that maybe kind of got scouted as being lazy, so to speak, or not give 110% every time. But when you're 6'6" and 325 pounds, your presence is there. But you mentioned Kyle Long. I mean, he was hurt so much. I mean, I think he had to walk away. But you're right. I mean, you lose a guy like him, it's a big loss. So waiting that long to draft a lineman probably isn't the right thing. Not having enough draft picks in the beginning to get a lineman is something else. So we go back to the Khalil Mack issues. But yeah, I mean, you're right. They go after a tight end right away. And there probably was a lineman there somewhere to take. I can't remember what number Colt Quebec got drafted, but he was, the Notre Dame kid from the tight end from Notre Dame. But anyway, yeah, I think those guys it's basically the same lineup as they had last year. So you're going to ride and die with those guys. And you hope that, I think Bobby Massey, if you go back and watch some tapes, he didn't do a very good job in certain blocking situations. And that led to scrambling, obviously the quarterback scrambling. And if you go way back to where we started with the running backs, when you got the smaller guys like that, you got guys coming out of the backfield, it's leaving opportunities for defenses to sort of pounce, and some of the linemen, obviously get tired. So I hope they can shore it up because those numbers aren't very good.
I think it goes back to what quarterback you're going to have in there because, like you said, I mean, Trubisky can run around a little bit, get out of those spots, but Foles can't really get out of his own way. So, I mean, that's going to be tough, and I think that might might play a key factor there.
It's two different styles. Foles is a bit more of a pocket guy. He can run a little bit, but not – and I'm not saying that Mitch Trubisky is a sprinter, but he's certainly better on his feet than Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better about the Khalil Mack trade, the Raiders, they find a way to screw up their first-round picks every year. So, at least they're –
Yeah, but they've got a lot of them. That's the thing.
I know.
Thanks to the trade. But you're right, they do.
So I got one more for you. While doing some research for the show and on you, I came across a video that I was going to show for our watchers on Facebook. Obviously, our listeners on Podbean and Apple Podcasts, they wouldn't be able to see it. But it was a picture of you doing some karaoke. And it was Sweet Caroline, I believe. So my question to you is, if you're going to, go out and hit up a karaoke bar, what is your go-to? Is Sweet Caroline your go-to, or what song, what are you going for?
Well, see, that one is good for crowd interaction because everybody sings along to it. And plus, there's not much good.
No, I was going to say, so is that like the best dancer rarely wins a dance-off. It's the one who wins the crowd. So
maybe.
Is that,
or it's later in the night and no one's really paying attention. So you just
there you go.
Belt it out. And I don't know if I have a go-to. That's a good question. I have to figure that out. I really just pick the lesser of two evils and hope that it's over fast, and then get back to having my wings and whatever I'm drinking. So
now your fiance is a great singer, I heard.
She is. She's in her own band, so I can hide behind her. So we're good.
There you go.
All right, I'll have to come up with a list, and we do this again. I'll get back with you.
Okay, sounds good.
So my last question for you now, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but me and Bobby being Eagles fans, look, you touched on the double doink game there with old Cody Parkey. Now, look, that was a good game, and it was one of those ones that I didn't think the Eagles had it in. I didn't think they were going to win that one, man. So just give me your thoughts there on that kick. And I still thought it went in at first, so I was still kind of mad. And then I had to watch the replay to see that we actually won. And
it did go in at first, and then they called timeout.
Yeah, I did forget. Oh, shoot.
You're right.
The ice the kicker. He drilled it, and but I knew they already called timeout.
I think I walked away. I don't even know if I watched it. I might have saw the replay, but I was like, he's gonna make it.
I watched it. Believe me, I walked away after that, but I did watch it. Between the three of us, the better team probably lost that game that day. Yeah. But like I said a minute ago, the last drive when they had to get off the field, they couldn't. Foles got them down the field. Was it Jeffrey that scored? I don't even remember who scored, but But even then, Trubisky had got him past midfield with whatever they had, 40 couple seconds left. And I think Nagy got a little bit conservative because I think they had the Eagles on their heels a bit with like a timeout in their pocket or something, and they started to run it. As a lot of coaches do, they figured they were in Parkey's range. All they needed was a field goal. It was a weird game. Like the offenses couldn't really get going. It was low scoring. I never have a good feeling when the Bears were playing any playoff game. I didn't have a good feeling 10 years ago, I guess already. Geez, when they hosted Green Bay in the NFC Championship game with the Cutler injury, and they had to bring in oh my God, who was it? Caleb Haney maybe came in as quarterback. I don't even remember. But anyway, crazy game. The double doink, no one forgets it. Of course, I hear it all the time. I hear it on Facebook. I hear it on wherever else I'm going. Oh, you're a Bears fan? Oh yeah, double doink. I'm like, yeah.
Gosh,
whatever you say. It's a tough one. But for my Eagles friends, the following week, and you guys remember Alshon Jeffrey dropping a pass against the Saints that was
Brian, cut him off.
I think we could. Yeah, I mean, it definitely came back to bite us. I mean, I think we should have won that game. So I don't know.
I do too.
It all happens.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
You guys had a crazy Super Bowl to have fun with a couple years ago, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, at least we got that.
I love that Pat said between the three of us, we have like a couple thousand listeners.
Oh, well, for the three of us, I can see. I can see.
So
nobody else cares about that.
Do you play fantasy football?
I do. I used to play a lot more than I do. I'm in a league now where it's sort of like you pick a lineup each week, but after you pick those guys, you can't pick them again the rest of the year.
Okay.
So it's a little bit like DraftKings. Yeah, it's fun actually. It's fun, and to me, I have more fun at that than I do drafting in the beginning of the season. My number 3 pick, and then he blows out a knee, and I'm sort of screwed the rest of the year.
Man, I like that. That's
good. Yeah, it's different.
We call ours once and done. It's a once and done league. So like us, the three of us, and the thousands listening, we could all pick Patrick Mahomes at the same time. That's no problem. But once you've picked him, that's it for the rest of the year.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say there's a lot more strategy involved. Do I hold on to some studs till the end of the season? Do I play all the guys early in the season and pile up points? Because sometimes in week 15 or 16, if your team is got the division clinched, you might not get to play, Carson Wentz. He might sit. So now you're all out of quarterbacks. I can't. Anyway, that was all. But just that's more of my fantasy like this year.
You really got to look at the schedule.
Yeah,
exactly. Bye weeks, the whole thing. You're right. Yeah. So it's more strategy. It's more fun, and it's more week to week. That. So yeah.
Hey, if you get an opening, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's unlimited. Anybody, we can do it with 10 or 50. Doesn't matter. I'll hook you guys up.
Yeah, we'll have to get in on that.
Look at Bobby's face. Like suddenly he was like,
here's my next.
I live for this stuff, man.
All right.
So we talk a lot of fantasy football. We did a little bit on the show here. So me and Bobby got a running thing with some of the guys, or one of the guys that is our listener. He seems to love the kicker position. Now I would eliminate the kicker from fantasy football. So do you pick kickers in your league, or are they or do you not pick those?
Well, we do for the once and done because you're fielding a lineup.
I think you should get rid of them.
Yeah, and I always, the thing I never liked about them is the different points for field goals. I never quite understood. Like, I guess usually it's what, 3 for anything under 40, 4 for the 40 to 50. I don't know. So you guys don't like them. You don't want the extra points. What do you want? You want like more?
Give me another flex spot or something.
So you got 3 kickers. You normally every year. For instance, this year it's probably going to be Tucker as always, Butker, and probably Will Lutz. And like after those 3, there's no research that can be done, and there's no proven way so far, at least that I know of, after doing fantasy since 1997, that you can really figure out which kickers are going to do what per week. Now, obviously, there's always you never know what's going to happen, but you at least have an idea with your quarterbacks, your running backs, your receivers, your tight ends. Like it's a lot more accurate that way with those positions. So I say get rid of the kickers, get rid of the defenses, because we talked about that too, where you could have the number 1 defense in the league one year, and the next year it's the 21st defense in the league, as far as fantasy goes.
Especially
give me more flex positions.
Especially these days. I was bringing this up to my coworkers and stuff the last couple of years. Defense is stupid, especially you get 10 points for a shutout. No one shuts anybody out anymore. So that's right away your defenses are 0. So you just cancel those out. Let's play with another flex player. I don't necessarily want to get rid of the kickers, but I do agree with the flex player thing. But the defenses, I never – how many times it's, okay, you're going to get a few points for a sack here or there. It's really just a crapshoot on who's going to return a punt or who's going to have a pick 6. Other than that, you're getting 1 or 2 points. You're getting 1 or 2 points for your defense. That's it.
Yep. I mean, the Eagles' defense last year against Washington, as the game expired, they returned that fumble recovery. They hit Haskins, I think, and took that fumble to the house.
Yes.
I won a fantasy week because of that play, and I still hate the defenses. Like I should have lost that game, to be honest with you.
Right. Well, you should have lost the game against the Bears 2 years ago too. But
here we go. All right, Pat is definitely done now. No, seriously, Pat, thanks so much for coming on with us again.
You got it, guys.
2019 Maryland Sportswriter of the Year. He's famous. He's big time. He's the guy.
In my own mind.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
I'll hook you guys up. I'll hook you guys up. We'll do the once and done together.
Yes.
All right, cool. We'll do that. Thanks for coming on,
guys. Thanks, guys. Take care. See ya.
Have a good one.
Yep.
All right, some good stuff there.
Oh yeah.
Pat.
Dude, who thought we talked to the Bears fan for so long? I figured we'd be 6 minutes and done with old Pat, but he was great, man.
Yeah, he he kept it reasonable there. I mean, he kept it as a normal Bears fan would, man. Not too high, not too low. Still a bunch of questions, I think, for the Bears, and I think like he touched on, the defense is going to be a lot better than the offense, no matter who plays.
Right.
Who plays quarterback. So,
and honestly, after listening to him, I'm changing my mind, man. I think Trubisky's going to be the starter. After listening to him talk and thinking about, and I had picked Foles, but it wasn't like in a landslide. It was like a 55-45, But it makes sense, especially. And I started thinking about the shortened preseason and Foles being new to the team, Trubisky already being in the offense for a year, already knowing the players. Yeah. And being much more elusive with that weak offensive line. Mm-hmm. That question you asked about that O-line was a good one, man. I think Trubisky's going to have to be the guy because he's going to be the one who's going to be better at eluding those rushers coming in when they inevitably do, and he's more comfortable in that offense. So I think I'm changing up. I swear, I changed my mind. Trubisky will be the starter.
Foles is he's like he's like a closer in baseball. You just bring him in at the end of the year, and then he rides you into
right,
the playoffs. So
I know.
you just need Trubisky to give you 7 strong innings there, and then you bring Foles in to close.
Bring Foles in about week 14. Let him get a couple tune-up games, and then build a statue with him outside your stadium.
They might have their own play named after them. I don't know what it could be, but but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, with the offensive line, I mean, Trubisky, he can definitely elude some of the defenders a little bit more. But I think the first bad week that he has, I think it might be one of those things. This year it might be like, he's going to be scared to make a mistake, because he knows Foles is waiting in the wings. So I don't know. I think it's a tough situation overall. So we'll see. But I bet Pat knows that, and I'm sure he's optimistic about it.
All right, man. Hey, all of you out there, thank you so much for listening. And what do we have? 824 members?
I think so, yeah, 820 something in the 820s. So yeah, we're up another, I don't know, 30 or 40 people from last week. So everybody keep adding in all your friends and whatnot, and hopefully they'll approve the page and everything.
And obviously I posted to my on our page, but also posted my regular Facebook. So like we said to Pat, we get a couple thousand views a week. So maybe we get those people to come in and join the page as well. But keep inviting. And like we always say, the show is for y'all. So if you have a question or you want us to talk about something, hit a certain topic, please let us know. Shoot Brian or myself a message, and we'll do our best to get it on the show and talk about it like we did this week. Yeah, man. Another good week. I know we got about like 10 T-shirts left. I know we've been getting rid of a lot of them here lately. So if I think we have like one extra large and a bunch of large and a few mediums. So if you're out there listening and you want a shirt, again, message us, and we'll meet you if you're local and ship it out there for free or whatever if it needs to be shipped. So you got it. So let us know. All right, man. Excited for next week. Good show. Yeah, we'll figure something out next week. Bring another good show, and hopefully everybody has a good week. And it's been a crazy time for college. So let's just all kind of pray that the NFL holds steady and doesn't start doing anything crazy. So keep those fingers crossed. And you got it. All right, man. Talk to you next week. Yep. See you in a week. All right, brother.